Hey, how's it going, guys? I'm back here again to do another updated ranking video. Recently I did a more updated ranking video on the Friday the 13th series, and I thought I would do another one for another one of my favorite horror franchises. I'm also going to do another one for the Halloween series, because I like doing these sort of updating older videos that I've done, just to see if my opinion on any of the movies in the series have changed, or if I changed the place on any of them. And I also plan on doing these ranking videos for other series that I haven't done them for. But anyway, today I'm going to be doing a more updated ranking video on probably my second favorite horror franchise, and that is the Nightmare on Elm Street series. I absolutely love this entire series. I think Freddy Krueger is just a really over-the-top and unique horror killer. He kills all of his victims in very unique and original ways. Unlike other horror icons that usually just kill people with knives or axes or whatever, he uses your worst nightmares and he brings them to life, and he uses your worst fears against you. And I think that's just an absolutely great and unique way of killing people. And I know that the Nightmare on Elm Street series has always been they've always been considered part of the slasher genre, and I never really thought of it that way, because usually slasher genres are usually films in the slasher genre, they usually involve one killer just killing off teenagers one by one using a specific weapon, whereas Freddy, he's got a whole nother. He's basically out there to get revenge on the parents that killed him by using their child's dreams. Either their bad dreams, or sometimes their best dreams, their good dreams, and then turning them against them. And I've always thought that was a really cool and great, unique way of killing them off. So I'm going to go ahead and get this started, and I'm going to be ranking them from my least favorite to my favorite. Now, my least favorite film in the franchise, just like the Friday the 13th series, is the Nightmare on Elm Street remake. I've only watched it once, so I might be a bit harsh on it, but when I first saw it, I thought it was a decent remake. But now, after I think about it, I really can't think of anything I really liked about it. I think that the only thing that really I enjoyed from the remake was the backstory. I like the idea of Freddy. He worked with children, and the town people knew him, and then that's when they started noticing, strange things about him. Unlike the original movie where, he was just a child murderer, in the remake they had a sort of a backstory about him, and you kind of knew that people knew about him, and he seemed like a nice guy, and then as time went on, that's when they started to realize there was something wrong with him. So I like that about it, but as far as everything else, I really was not a big fan of. I thought that the guy that played Freddy was okay, but the makeup I felt was just a failed opportunity. I thought that they could have done so much better with his makeup. They could have made him look so much more grotesque, they could have done so much more with the makeup, and I just thought that they just didn't do as much as I was hoping for. As for the death scenes in it, since it's a remake, I was kind of hoping that they would have amped it up some, because I think the point of a remake is to get ideas that have already been done and do them in a sort of different way to amp them up, or do them in a way to make them more unique to that movie. And they really just didn't do much for the kills. I think that most of the kills kind of stuck to the original. Also, I kind of noticed that I guess you could call it a sexual attraction. The attraction between Freddy and Nancy is a lot more noticeable in this one. In the original movie, there are some scenes where you kind of guess that Freddy sort of thought of Nancy in a type of sexual way, and in this one I think it's a bit overly done. And so honestly, the Nightmare on Elm Street remake I just do not like. I've only watched it once, so I might be a little bit harsh on it. I might give it another chance sometime if I find it for a low price, but honestly, I'm really not in a hurry to rewatch it. Now, the next movie in the franchise the next movie that I'm in my ranking video is Freddy vs. Jason. Now, I actually really enjoyed this one. I thought that the idea of bringing them both together was a really good idea. You know, you have Freddy, he's down in hell, he's weak, you know, because he doesn't have any souls of the kids on Elm Street, and he needs something to get his power back. So he gets Jason to go and start killing kids off and spread fear in Elm Street again. And then when Freddy starts gathering their souls, then he comes back. And yeah, I thought that was a pretty good idea, you know, to bringing them together. And I honestly really like this movie. I think that when they start fighting, I think it's a pretty good, some pretty cool fight scenes. The acting in it is kind of for the most part with the other characters. I did like the main girl and the main guy, but everyone else is just kind of like, you know, But you know, you mostly watch this movie because you want to watch Freddy and Jason fight. You know, you want to see them battle each other off, and you know, and I think that's what you get with this movie. So Freddy vs. Jason. Now the next one is A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 5, The Dream Child. For some reason, you know, I was never a massive fan of this one. I like the whole idea of Freddy sort of having a kid. But, you know, for some reason, this movie never really sucked me in like the other ones. Don't get me wrong, I enjoy it, but it was just never really one that really stuck out to me as much as the rest of them did. I still enjoy it, though. I still watch it. You know, whenever I'm watching the Nightmare movies, you know, around Halloween, I'll always pop this one in. But this one is probably my least favorite of the sequels. And then we have one that I think a lot of people will consider their least favorite in the series. It's Freddys Dead, The Final Nightmare. I personally enjoy this movie. I like the opening scenes of, forget his name. Anyway, the main guy, I totally forget his name, and his name's not on the back, but the opening scenes of him laying in his bed, and every time he wakes up or goes out of his house, you know, something happens, like his house will fly up into space, or, you know, stuff like that, or when he's trying to, you know, stay in bed, and his bed just and his entire room just sets on fire. I like the, you know, concept. I also liked, of course, of how everybody is always thinking, you know, that, you know, who is Freddy's kid? You know, Freddy had a kid. Who is he or she? And you find it out in this one. And there's some cool cameos, like there's Alice Cooper, who's playing Freddy's dad in this one. There's also Roseanne and Tom Arnold. And I like those little, you know, I like the different cameos in the film. I also like the three main, the three teenagers, Is it Lacey or Tracy? I think it's Tracy, Spencer, and then and Carlos. And I like what happens to them, like especially when Spencer, you know, he's high and he's watching that music video of Freddy and stuff, and then he starts, you know, bouncing around the room and stuff. I thought that it was really over comedic and cheesy, and I think that's why a lot of people didn't like it. But I've always enjoyed this one for the most part, you know. So Freddy's Dead, you know, it's not one of my favorites, but I enjoy it for what it is. Now this next one was kind of hard for me to rank. I couldn't tell if I liked Freddy's Dead more than this one, or if I liked this one more. And I think I like this one a bit more because this is still the darker Freddy. You know, I think in the first few films he's at his darkest, and then I think in the later sequels he kind of gets more comedic and more goofy until New Nightmare. But this was when I think he was pretty dark. Nightmare on Elm Street IV, and this one's got all the different really good kills in this one. Like there's a girl with asthma who I can't remember her name, and Freddy gives her a kiss, and you know, that one was always cool. And this one was also the one with the girl that gets fed to death. You know, when she gets her cheeks get all puffed out and everything. I thought that was a pretty cool death. But yeah, like I said, this was back when Freddy was still dark. You know, this was probably the last sequel, and then they started getting kind of he started getting more comedic and goofy, but I've always really enjoyed this one. It's one of my favorites. I think it's also a fan favorite. I've heard a lot of fans say they really enjoy this one. So, Nightmare on Elm Street IV. Now, this next one is another one that I think, it's one of those ones that you either hate it or you love it. Or at least that's the opinion that I've seen, but I personally love this sequel, Nightmare on Elm Street II. And I think that the main reason why people don't like it is because, and this is just what I've heard, is because of the gay undertones in this movie. You know, for some reason, you know, people think that Freddy has sort of a an attraction to the Jesse character. I never really saw that when I first watched it. I mostly saw it as, Freddy, Jesse's character is, Freddy wants him to start killing for him, and that's all I saw it as. There's a lot of scenes in this that really don't make sense, like the one scene when Freddy comes out of Jesse's stomach. In that one scene, he basically busts opens out of him, and then in the next scene, there's like a couple of cuts down his stomach, and Jesse's pretty much fine. That was one thing that really never got me, like, how is this kid still alive? Freddy just burst out of his stomach. So there are some scenes that really don't make sense. There's also the scene when they have the coach. He finds Jesse at a gay bar, and then he makes Jesse run laps, and Freddy ties him up and starts using the towels to slap him on his ass. That was kind of, I think that sort of was something else that fans pointed out. This one is a really goofy one, I must say, but also I think it's still a pretty dark one, and it's definitely one that, like I said, you either love it or hate it. I personally really enjoy it, so yeah, there's Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2. And I like the opening scene of them in the bus as well. Alright, and now we're getting down to the top 3. And this one has always been one of my favorite sequels in the series. This was back when Freddy, he got dark again, he got meaner. And it's Wes Craven's New Nightmare. I've always loved the concept of, Nancy, or Heather Langenkamp is playing herself, Robert Englund is playing herself, Wes Craven is playing herself. And it's not like a movie, it's like their real lives. And you can see how, Heather Langenkamp, you can see how Freddy is infecting her, or is, having an impact on her life, and her young son Dylan, who, is starting to, who watches, the Nightmare on Elm Street films, and he starts acting really, really strange. And, and then of course it's Freddy, he's coming into, for the movie, he's coming into the real world and affecting Nancy's or Heather Langenkamp's life. And I really like that whole concept. It's like a movie outside. It's like it's, a movie about what could happen if the killer in the movie comes to life and starts affecting, the original, starts affecting the actress who ultimately killed him in the first film, and then affecting her life. And I always loved that whole concept. And even just like Robert Englund says in the movie, Freddy, he's meaner, and he seems more darker and more evil. And I think he does. I also like the little kid, Dylan, who also played Gage in Pet Sematary. So it was cool to see him, and he seems he's a pretty creepy kid in this one. Now this next one is one sequel that I think everybody loves, and I've also heard a lot of people say that they prefer this one over the original. Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors. I love this whole concept. You got Nancy returns, and she's in that, pretty much in that hospital with all the kids that are having, dreams, and they just, and trying to stay awake. And then Freddy, of course, he's starting to kill them off. So they decide to band together and battle against Freddy. And they each have their own thing. Like the nerd character, he's the wizard master. There's that one girl who's, she's bad, and she's kind of like the biker type chick. You got Kincaid, who's the strong guy, and they all have their own, strengths in their dreams, and they use them against Freddy. And for the most part, it helps a lot. And I like that whole concept of how in your dreams you can be whatever you want. And this movie really shows that, no matter what you are in real life, if you can dream it, you can be it. And, and I really, really love this one. It's always been one of my favorites, and I think it's also a fan favorite of everyone as well. So there's Dream Warriors. And then, of course, my #1 movie in the franchise, the original classic. I mean, what more can you say about this that hasn't already been said? It's a classic movie. It's lived on for years, and will still always live on. The original classic horror film. Of course, the deaths are, always great, especially, of course, Tina's death, and then, and what's his name? I forget his name, but, Johnny Depp's death in it. I forget his character's name, but yeah, Nightmare on Elm Street, I mean, just one of the greatest horror films of all time. And that is my ranking of the Nightmare on Elm Street series. And, like I said, I plan on doing more of these. But let me know what you guys think about my ranking. I actually do, I would like to say that even though I ranked Freddy vs. Jason as my second least favorite in the series, that's only because I consider it more of a more of a Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th crossover film. So I don't really consider it like a part in the Nightmare on Elm Street series or the Friday the 13th series. You know what I mean? Like, it's a crossover movie, so it's kind of hard to decide on that one. But you know, I still, even though I ranked it my second least favorite, I still really enjoy that one. And I enjoy all these movies, you know. I think next to Halloween, Nightmare on Elm Street is my favorite horror franchise. So, anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Let me know how you guys would rank the series, and let me know what you guys think of my ranking. I hope to have a new video up soon, so stay tuned for that. Thanks everyone for watching, and yeah, I'll see you guys later.